Hey everybody, welcome to Heart and Homestead with Dawn. Thanks for tuning into my new channel. I wanted to invite you in today to what I have going on in my kitchen. So right here I have some delicious garlic scapes that I harvested about a week and a half ago. And we have been eating from them a little bit every day, and this is what we have left. And then I have here a giant basket full of butternut squash, and these we've had in our basement in a box covered in the dark since last fall. Take a look at that. There are big ones and there are little midget ones. Look how cute. But in any case, we need to make room for the new harvest that's coming. So what I decided to do is I'm going to go ahead and process these, and then we're going to make some butternut squash puree. So I hope that you're ready for this journey. Let's get started. Okay, so first step in roasting the butternut squash is cutting it. So we want to cut off both ends of the squash. Be very careful. You obviously don't want to cut your fingers. That's the way I do it, and then I stand it upright, put my knife right in the center, and kind of use a seesaw motion to cut straight down through the center of the squash. There you have it. Look how beautiful that is. Is that not beautiful? Somebody took my tool. Here it is. I have this handy little tool that I use for scooping out the seeds. From the center, it has two ends. They have little sharp teeth, but you don't need to have this tool. You can use a fork. You can use a spoon that has jagged edges. The object is to get all of the seeds and the stringy stuff out of the inside of the squash. We're going to get it nice and clean in the inside. At the same time, we have our garlic scapes, and what we're doing here is just chopping off a little piece of the tip, chopping off the top of the flower, and then we're going to chop these into 1-inch pieces. Just like that. I am using the tip of the flower because it's edible. If you were to open this up, which I'll do for you now, if you were to let this garlic scape flower on the garlic plant, you would get a whole bunch of little itty bitty tiny cloves of garlic in there that are super edible. So we are going to toss them in with our chopped garlic scapes, and we're going to roast them with the butternut squash. Okay, so once we have them all sliced and cleaned, the next step is to put a little bit of olive oil, or a lot. I love olive oil. Rub it in your hands. Now I do everything with my hands. I'm Italian, and I love to work with my hands, especially in the garden and in the kitchen, but you don't have to use your hands. You could use a basting brush. And then a pinch of salt, a pinch of pepper. You don't have to use salt and pepper. You don't have to use garlic scapes. You can do whatever you want. Invent your own recipe. And then I have the garlic scapes here, and I toss them also in olive oil with some salt and pepper. And so I'm just adding them to the cavity. Excess oil on your hands, use it with a little bit of salt. Exfoliate your skin. Your skin will love you. Okay, so here we have the almost finished product getting ready to go in the oven. So because we had so many different butternut squashes in different sizes, I tried to put them in trays according to size. So these are the little mini squashes, and then I have the bigger ones here. Reason being that the smaller ones obviously will get done a lot faster. And I also decided to do some with garlic scapes and to leave some without garlic, because I do love to make double baked potatoes using butternut squash and regular baked potatoes. And so I didn't want to add the garlic to all of them. Now they're going to go into the oven at 375 degrees for approximately 45 minutes. Now, these are going to cook a lot faster because they're smaller, so they'll be able to come out. The way you know that they're done is they're going to be fork tender. The other thing that I wanted to mention about this is that when you make this recipe or butternut squash, you want to use what is traditionally called a jelly roll pan. I have a couple stoneware ones that I like, but they need to have a lip on them because these do emit a nice juice, especially with the garlic scapes on top of them. There's going to be a delicious juice that's going to gather at the bottom of the pan. So you don't want to use like a cookie sheet type of thing. You want to make sure that it has a little bit of depth to it. Okay, so the timer went off. I only set it for 30 minutes so that I could check them. And the whole house smells magnificent. And you can see how they are browning in the back here, but they're still really hard. So they are definitely not done. But I do want to get into the bottom oven and check the little ones to see how they are doing. See if they are any closer to being done than the top ones. And they are. They're definitely more tender, but they're not done yet. So the timer will be set for another 15, I'm going to say even 20 minutes. They didn't feel like they were even close to being done. So the extra 20 minutes has passed, and I want you to see the difference. Look how tender, how easily the fork goes right into the most meaty part of the butternut squash. So they are ready to come out. I already took the babies out because they are super tender. Garlic scapes, I can't wait to taste one of those. And then I want to show you these here. Now these are not quite finished yet. They're beautiful. And they're getting there, but around the edges, they're still not tender enough. So they're going to stay in a little bit longer. But what I want to show you is the juice. Look at that. You know, my camera screen is probably getting all steamed up here, but I'm in the lens. See all of the juice? That stuff is going to be like liquid gold when we put this in the blender to make our puree. So you want to be careful not to poke your holes too deep. Can you see all of the liquid? Yummy. But unfortunately, just not quite done yet. They're getting there. Maybe another 3 minutes for these guys and they'll be done. Now the last step is to make your puree, because you want to have a good blender. I have a Vitamix here. Doesn't have to be a Vitamix. You can use a KitchenAid. You can use a food processor. Whatever you have on hand, use. Just start. And we're going to take a spoon, just a regular kitchen spoon, and we're going to take our squash. We're going to separate the flesh of the squash, the meaty part, from the skin, and put it into our blender. If you get a little bit of skin in there, it doesn't matter as long as your vegetable is organic. So I just happened to have some coconut milk on hand, and I decided to try coconut milk instead of heavy cream. You can use heavy cream, you can use whole milk, you can use almond milk, you can use cashew milk. It doesn't matter. That's the wonderful thing about recipes, is that you create them as you go. You create them to adapt to your flavor, to your liking, to what your family enjoys. And so we also used 2 tablespoons of butter. Everything right into your source of mixing. And then we're gonna just puree it. Some people put brown sugar in theirs to begin with. I do not, and the reason I do not is because I don't know what I'm going to use it for yet, right? So if I'm going to use it for baking, brown sugar might be wonderful, but if I use it for a soup, I may not want the brown sugar in it. So my base puree is just simply butternut squash, a source of milk, which I used, again, coconut milk, but you can use any milk that you want, and butter. That's going to be my base. Let's see how it looks. Beautiful. Look at that. And so then what you're going to want to do is pour it into a freezer safe container. So here's the thing. You can freeze bowl jars. So you could essentially get like the small 4-ounce bowl jars, or even your pint-sized bowl jars. I don't like to freeze in bowl jars long term, and so this is something that I'm saving for long term. This is not something I'm going to be consuming in an entire month. So what I'm going to do is pour it into these freezer safe containers, and I'm not going to pour all the way to the top. I think these are 2-cup containers, and then seal it and let it freeze overnight, and then tomorrow I'll take it out and I'll vacuum seal them. And then of course, whenever you do this kind of process where you are storing your food in the freezer for longer term, make sure to label, because you know, I might do this again with carrots, and how am I going to tell the difference between butternut squash puree and carrot puree? I won't unless it's labeled. So there you go. It smells so good, it's literally making my mouth water. My husband had a piece of the squash with the roasted garlic scapes in it. He just ate the whole thing, garlic scapes and all, and said it was marvelous, and stopped right there. So I'm going to puree up some of that as well. Look at that. These are going to go right into the freezer for future use. I hope you liked this video. And if you do, please subscribe to my channel, Heart and Homestead with Dawn. Would love to share more things with you. This is just the beginning. This is my very first video ever, and I'm having fun doing it for you. But they're going to take on a different turn too. It's not just going to be all about baking. I want to get into the Word of God. The whole reason that I decided to start this channel is because years ago, when I had my first baby and found myself a stay-at-home mom, I was lost. To be honest with you, I didn't know what to do with all the time that I had on my hands. Because I wasn't raised to be a homemaker. I was raised to go to college and get a job working for corporate America and climb my way to the top. And I was doing that. I worked for a prestigious company and I was doing that. But then I got very convicted, my husband and I, when I got pregnant with our first baby, that I should stay home and raise our children. And that's what I did end up doing. I stayed home and I raised all 3 of our children. We homeschooled them on a farm, and it was absolutely wonderful. But I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to organize my home. I didn't know any of it. And so I cried out to God to send me an older woman, a spiritual mother, a Titus II mentor. And he did. He sent me an older Italian woman who taught me how to take the Word of God and bring it into my everyday life, and how to stay full in my spirit so that when my husband came home from work at the end of the day, I wasn't trying to drain him, I was able to pour into him, and how to not give away my best and leave my least for my family. So all of that is going to be incorporated in future videos. I really do hope that you will like, subscribe, and share. Please comment below if you enjoyed this video, and if you would like to see more like this, or maybe give me some ideas of what you might like to see. But thanks again for watching. Bye for now.